Hi! What's up, nerds? How's it going? How are you today? Welcome to another exciting, although this time brief, episode of Quintessential Anthropology, or, as you can call it more succinctly, QA. On today's exciting episode, we'll be hearing about video blog things like what I ate today, things in the news that pissed me off, and the terrifyingly large insects that crawled on my bed last night. First and foremost, let's talk about my lunch. I'm aware that this is probably the highlight of your day, so I'll go slowly. One great thing about having an hour or two of free time is that you have time to cook for yourself. Now, I don't always have the best resources at my disposal, but luckily I don't need much in order to make awesome pasta. Whenever I need pasta that seems incredibly sophisticated in about 30 minutes, I just take a can of pasta sauce, some olive oil, a frying pan, and any number of other things, milk, cheese, salad dressing, whatever else you feel like adding, meat, sausage, spinach. Throw it all in together, simmer it in a pan, and pour the pasta in. When all's said and done, it looks like a restaurant dish, especially if you serve it on one of those big white plates and drizzle the sauce in a fancy way. But when it's all said and done, it probably isn't any healthier than anything that comes from lean cuisine. Because after all, it comes out of a bag of frozen pasta and one of those jars of pasta sauce. It's amazing what you can do with food when it's mostly pre-cooked. In other news, the state of Florida continues to be an unsafe place to breathe. Headlines in the news last week include the young boy who was tasered to death by police officers, and the man who was shot in his driveway and killed, also by police officers. Now you might ask yourself, why does this piss him off? It happens all the time. That's not news, that's a thumbnail. Because there's something wrong about the fact that that's not news. When did this become a daily occurrence? Did I miss something? I was not aware that it was just standard procedure for people to be randomly killed in the middle of their day. That just doesn't seem like something we should ignore. Of course, it's only the latest in a long line of things that never quite make it into the news. Like that revolution that those of you on Tumblr may have heard about, but never quite saw making its way to the front pages of the New York Times. Or the fact that people in the south of Texas are dying of thirst. The human rights infringements taking place across the globe. News stories like that get my goat a little bit. Not necessarily the story itself, but the reminder. There's thousands more stories that we're not seeing. For every kid who gets tasered, there's 300 more who live through the tasing and get thrown in jail. But let's not end the day on a downer note, so we're going to move directly to this week's nature segment. Hello and welcome to Insects That Share Your Shower. Today's menacing arthropod description is based on a true story. A story about me. This story begins late last night. I was lying in bed doing a bit of light reading when suddenly I saw something making its way up the covers. It was so large and so terrifying in its movements that I thought it must be a wasp, but I was mistaken. For this was none other than the species known as the carpenter ant. These ants are highly prevalent in the area in which I live, and are driven by a great need for intimacy, as they have on multiple occasions attempted not only to share my shower, but also to share my bed. But don't worry. Even if you can hear the gnawing sound of their jaws chomping away at the wood of your house, They probably won't do enough structural damage to destroy it. They'll simply hollow it out and live inside of it, going about their daily business only inches away from you. So there's really nothing to worry about at all. Unless, of course, one of them comes crawling towards you in the middle of the night and tries to snuggle. So far, she hasn't made her move. But I'm sure she's planning something. Why do I say she, you might ask? Well, here's your last little tidbit of insect-related information for the day. The vast majority of the ants you will ever encounter will be female. Because the workers of the colony are female. They're the ones who do all the heavy lifting, the daily work, construction, and infant care. The males lie around for most of their life, grow wings, fly away, mate, and die. And so, with that touching bit of information on the life cycle of the common ant, I leave you. And that will conclude this week's episode of Quintessential Anthropology, your weekly reminder to play more video games. Have a nice day. Sorry for the lateness of this episode. I was busy being terrified by insects. Next week's episode will be on time, but it'll be short, because I'll be getting ready to close out my summer residence and move to another location.